Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you all for being here. Tonight, we are warmly inviting Yonara to speak for us. She has a talk called The Good Samaritan, so I'm excited for that. Before we begin the talk of tonight, I would like to invite everyone for an opening prayer. Let us take this moment to calm ourselves, to calm our thoughts, to bring ourselves into this moment, to remember what's important to us and those important people around us. Let us embrace this calm and this peace so that clear thoughts will bless our minds so that we can open our hearts to those around us. Every day is a new challenge, and every day brings new opportunities. Everyone has responsibilities, and we chose these responsibilities, and they are within our power to conquer. Let us always remember that mentors and friends are never far away, that they are always there supporting you every step of the way. And so being thankful for this moment, being thankful for this opportunity, embracing more love and peace in our life and understanding, we continue to move forward, trying to be better and trying to help those around us. Always remembering that message and always remembering the support. So again, with a heart full of peace and love, we welcome Yonara to tonight to talk with us and to bring us a new lesson, and that hopefully we can take with us and learn something from it. So with that, we ask permission to begin the work of tonight. So be it. So be it. Yeah.
Hello? All right. Can you hear me, Larry? Good evening, everyone. I think it has a little echo, Manny, on my end here. You hear me well? Okay. So, once upon a time, when Jesus still, the echo, the quality is not. Hold on one second, guys. Okay. Better? Okay. So, Jesus was walking, and one day, when this what we call lawyer today, was probably a scribe back then, approach him and ask a question. He asked, "Teacher, what is that I have to do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus looked at him and says, "What is that the teaching tells you?" Just as a reminder that Jesus was not talking to an uneducated man by that time. It was a man that knew the law, the Jewish law. So Jesus asked him, "What is that the law says?" And the man answering back, quoting the Old Testament, saying that the law says that we should love God with our hearts and all the strength, and love the neighbors, love our neighbors like ourselves, like oneself. So Jesus looked at the lawyer and says, "Okay, then do that." But then the lawyer asked, "But who is your neighbor? Who is our neighbor?" And that is a very valid question, because when Jesus quoted this, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor like yourself, he was based on Judaism teaching. And when he said that, people are still having a hard time to actually figure it out who they should love, who are the neighbors that Jesus and the Jewish teaching were referring to. And for that reason, Jesus started to tell a story. And the story is the parable of the Good Samaritan. Now, it's important to remember that Jesus was telling the story to answer these questions. And the reason why Jesus said and teach based on stories and parables, it was because this was actually a Jewish tradition. And it's also a form of teaching, just because when someone tells us a story, we usually remember. But it's just like sometimes when you hear a speech, or when you hear a sermon, whatever it is that you hear, if I ask you what is that you heard, you wouldn't remember the whole thing. But if I tell you a story, you probably will remember the story. So the story has this amazing, a story has an amazing capability to actually go in through the memory, and then you remember the story. And that's exactly what Jesus did based on the tradition of the Jewish. He told the story to illustrate his teaching. And this story, that is the parable of the Good Samaritan, became a very famous story. Actually, one of the most knowing story of the Bible. And we all know, but I'm just going to try to tell the story really quick so we can go over. But Jesus was saying that this man got robbed and he got hurt. The important thing is Jesus didn't say that if the man was Jewish or not. He just mentioned that a man actually got robbed and hurt. And he was in this road from Jerusalem to Jericho. And it's important also for us to remember that why Jesus picked this road from Jerusalem to Jericho, which was a very dangerous road. And this meant, actually, this road still exists. People do that all the time when they go to Jerusalem. They actually go through that road, still exists. And this man was hurt, so a priest walked by, saw the man that was hurt, saw that he needed help, and the priest did nothing. He did not stop. He kept walking. And then, according to the story that Jesus was telling, Levi, a Levi also stopped by, saw the man, approached a little bit, but also walk away. And then came this Samaritan, and which stopped and helped the man, and took the man to a hotel, gave him water, and also took care of the bruise, the hurt. He was hurt, so he helped him with that, and took him to an inn, let's say, bringing to today's language, took him to a hotel, let's put it that way, and even paid for his staying at the hotel until he gets better, and gave money to the person to take care of his need, food or anything that he needed the next day, and he left. So Jesus told the story, but then asked the lawyer, who was the neighbor? And the lawyer had no chance and answered, it was the Samaritan. And then he said, okay, now you do that. Go ahead and do that, and you should be okay. And that's what Luke's telling us in Luke 10, when he tells us the stories. But in order to actually understand the story, we actually have to go back to the 1st century and analyze the characters that Jesus picked to tell the story. He didn't just pick someone to tell the story. Everything had a meaning. Now, you can look into this parable as a child, because you can ask any child here at the center, for an example, any child at the church, and you may ask that child, do you know the story of the Good Samaritan? And they will say yes. And what is the meaning of the story? And then any kid will tell you that you should help the ones that are in need. You should help the people, the person that is in need. Okay, that's wonderful. And but we as an adult, we can have a deeper meaning and a deeper understanding of this parable. We can actually do that. And to do that, we have to first go back to the 1st century so we understand who was the Samaritan. The Samaritan was actually the enemy of the Jew. There was a lot of explanation of who the Samaritan was, and one of the answers, historical speaking, it was the Samaritan was the one who actually married outside of the Jewish community and married a Gentile, and then became the enemy. But the important thing to remember is this: the Samaritans were the enemy. A Jew wouldn't talk to a Samaritan at all back then. They wouldn't even say hello, good morning, anything at all. They were really enemies of the Jew. Now let's go back to the story, and let's try to remember that the lawyer who asked the question that who are our neighbors was a Jew, right? So imagine their face, his face, when Jesus put a Samaritan as a hero of the story. Imagine. So in order for us to go back there and to figure it out, the meaning of the story, we have to put ourselves in the position of that lawyer back then. So let's put ourselves in that position. Think about a person that you really dislike. It could be a leader of a religion that you are not a big fan of. It could be a political figure. It could be that person that hurt you in the past. Somebody that you really dislike. And imagine that Jesus will tell a story and put that person, that particular person that you dislike, as the hero of the story. What would you feel? Imagine how that lawyer felt when he said, the Good Samaritan, which it was the Samaritan who was the hero of the story. So, why did Jesus do that? Why? It was just to poke that person? Or it was to tell a story that had a really important meaning, that he will actually get the enemy and put the enemy as a hero to that particular person. So it is very, how am I going to say this? It's very essential that we understand the reason why Jesus told the story. And it does have a very powerful message behind this story that looks like it's so child, but it does have a wonderful meaning to it. And the first thing that we can talk about it is that the Jesus insists that enemies can proven to be neighbors. Because the priest, we did not look at it, did not help the person that was hurt. Now, we can tell a lot of stories on why the priest didn't stop. There was a lot of theories over there. There was a lot of theories out there that say why the priest didn't stop. Maybe he was late for a meeting, or whatever the reason. But the reason that we have to think about is why did Jesus pick the priest? Why? And when you think about this, you get to the conclusion that he picked the priest to show us that we, people that are religions, sometimes we can also neglect to do the very base of charity. And that it's something that usually happens to every single one of us, is when we turn our backs to the one that is in need. Now, do we still do that? Can we bring this story to today's life and figure it out and act? Are we the priest of the story? Who are we? Are we the Samaritan? Are we the priest? Are we the Levite? Are we the person that are hurt on the floor? Because we can also could be that one. So when Jesus told us the story, he was telling us that he picked the Samaritan because we need to love our enemies. And enemies. And in order to inherit the spiritual vibration that we seek for, and we've been seeking for this for a while. But the recipe to do this, how we can get this higher vibration, this spiritual vibrations that we are searching for, we're not going to be able to do that if we do not include our enemies. If we do not love our enemies. And it's impossible to live the spiritual life that we want without loving our enemies. And I know that enemies sometimes can be such a heavy word. And sometimes we don't want to recognize that the person is our enemy. So instead of enemy, let's use dislike. We cannot live the vibration and the spiritual life that we are seeking without loving and making peace with the person and the people that we dislike. That's why the question was, what is that I have to do to inherit the eternal life? And we can ask this question with today's language, saying, what is that I can do to live the spiritual life that I'm looking for? So Jesus says the answer is love God above all things and love your neighbors and love everybody. Then you can live happy and you can actually live on a higher vibration. Without that, it's impossible. Why? Because people that we dislike usually have this power to make us feel bad. Have you realized this? Not feel bad, but feel sick. And sometimes we are okay, and at the moment that we see that person that we dislike, even on TV, or even as a personal, or in Facebook, or mediums, anybody, or everywhere, Instagram, and we see that person, immediately we react emotionally to that particular person, and then we lose our vibration. And at that moment, we start to feel very heavy, and something change on the inside. So with that, you may think, oh, that's why Jesus says that you must love your enemies. That's why Jesus picked the Samaritan, which was the enemy, to actually help that person and make that person the hero of the story. Because without having the peace, we could not live the life that we're seeking. And the second point that we can tell, the deeper meaning of this parable, is that compassion have no boundaries. And if we put any boundaries and compassion, we will never develop this wonderful virtue that makes us feel alive, that makes us feel light. This wonderful power that is compassion. Because I don't know about you, but every single time in my life that I felt compassion, remember, compassion has nothing to do with feeling sorry for the other person. Because feeling sorry for somebody else is actually telling that person that you're not capable to do and to deal with the stuff. And to feel sorry for someone often means that you are better than that person. So Jesus never asked us to feel sorry to nobody, but to have compassion, which means that you see that person and you feel for them. Because if you were in that situation that the person is in, you probably felt the same way. So compassion, when you are able to feel, you usually feel light and wonderful and connected to that person as a brother and sister. And that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Because you see yourself and that person. And at the moment that we put boundaries, and who are we going to feel compassion to, that we should not feel compassion to a killer, we're never going to be compassionate. Because compassion has no boundaries whatsoever. And 2021 years ago, when Jesus came and told the story, after all this time, we are still struggling to realize that we are the ones that are in need of the feeling of compassion and love. And we are the one who needs to feed ourselves with those feelings. Because those feelings are the ones that makes us feel alive and wonderful and light. And that's the reason why we are alive. And I don't know for how long. What else has to happen in the world? What else has to happen to us for us to realize that we need to pay attention to the Jesus teaching? Because they are good for us. They are important for us. And the third meaning of this parable is that judging people on the basis of their religion or race will leave us dying in a ditch. It really will. Judging a person based on what they believe, judging a person based on their race, it is one of the most despicable feelings we can ever have. Because, not only because of the other person, but because it makes us also feel miserable without realizing. People that hate, that judge, that dislike people based on their beliefs or race are usually almost 100% miserable. And sometimes we are miserable for the same reason. Because we look at a person and we judge and we don't accept. And when we do that, also something changes on our vibration. And it also brings us down. And it gives us this not very good feeling. And again, we continue to do it over and over and over again. And I don't know why. It's like we've been making the same mistakes as humans. We've been making the same mistake as humanity. And for some reason, we still didn't transform ourselves yet. And I struggle to find the answer to this. Because deep down, what we really, really want is to feel good and live well and have a wonderful life. Those are the things that doesn't matter who we are wishing for this. But we are keeping the same judgmental mind going on that hurts ourselves. So when is that we're going to realize that being judgmental is one of the biggest reasons why we don't live our lives fulfilled with joy, happiness, peace? Because we may be at the wonderful state of mind, and we may even have been having a wonderful day, but at the moment that we judge someone based on our experience and based on our lives, at that moment, we lose our peace of mind. We lose the feeling that we had maybe a minute ago when we were not judging. So I ask everybody tonight to start to pay attention. Every time that we judge, how much we lose. We, not the other person. Okay? And the reason why Jesus picked the Samaritan, it was to tell us that we shouldn't discriminate and judge people based on their race. Because it was a Samaritan that saved that person's lives. And what if that happens to us? What if that we are hurt and the person that we dislike are the person to come and help us? That could be a possibility also. And we could help a person that we dislike also. As Martin Luther King said on one of the speech that he was actually talking about the parable of the Good Samaritan, Martin Luther King said that we can make up a lot of stories of why the prince and the Levi did not stop to help that person. And Martin Luther King said that in his mind, in his story, the reason why the priest and the Levi did not stop to help that man, it was because they thought and they asked, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? What if I get hurt? If I help that person, what will happen to me? But the Good Samaritan reversed that question. The Samaritan asked, if I do not help, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? The Samaritan asked, if I do not help that man, what it would happen to him? Look the differences of the approach. When we see someone in need, what do we ask? What will happen to me if I help the person? Will I be risking my life to help the person? Or I should ask the same question as the Samaritan, then what will happen if I don't help that person? What will happen to him? And this is a very valid question for us, because it's one of the other Jesus teaching. When we help someone else, you are helping me. Why? Because Jesus knew that we are all connected, and we are connected to Jesus, we are connected to the cosmics, we are connected to nature, we are connected to everything. And every time I help you, I'm helping myself. And that is the reason why we feel so wonderful when we truly help someone, without the need that the person gives us something back. And we feel wonderful. And this is the reason. And it's time for us to realize this, that everything that happens in Africa matters. Everything that happens in Brazil matters. Everything that happens anywhere in the universe matters. It matters because it's us. And we can't be happy and having joy in our hearts all the time until we're connected to all of this. So everybody thinks that a good Samaritan is only someone that helps the other person. But it's not only it. If we wanted to become and to be a good Samaritan, we have to love our enemies, love the ones that we dislike, wish them the best in here. We have to stop with judging. We have to stop with judging. A good Samaritan does not judge. Because the Good Samaritan didn't judge that person. And if we want to be and to become a Good Samaritan, we also need compassion without boundaries. And those are the very basic teaching of Christianity that we're still struggling today, that we shouldn't. And it's time for us to see the Jesus teaching and see this parable, bring it to our heart, and start this wonderful transformation. With that, I thank you very much for your time tonight, and I really hope that everybody's well at home, and those that are not well, we absolutely and truly wish for them to be well. So be it. Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
Wonderful topic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Manny, are you coming too? You don't have to get it, Manny. It's always the same.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Yonara, for the wonderful talk. was really, really important. It was definitely very important words for everyone right now. Just remembering exactly what Yonara said is helping someone does not require judgment. It just requires compassion. It doesn't matter who the person is. The most important thing is to open your heart, be compassionate, and help the person. So, a few announcements. The yard sale is this Saturday. So it's available online. You can also come here to the center. If you're available to volunteer on Saturday morning or Friday night, we invite you to come. So the yard sale is this weekend. And again, it's one of the ways that we raise money for the center, so it's very important to us. We also have the cantina on Saturday. So another great way to support the center. I'm not exactly sure what is on the menu this week, but there will be something will be available, and it will be posted to the information groups as soon as we find out. So if you can, please purchase that. Also, we have meditations on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So we invite you to join us for that. And we will be having some study groups coming up. So we haven't had the time to come up with any dates so far. And also the center is not fully open, but once we have more information on the study groups, we'll relay that out to everyone. So I would like to invite everyone for a closing prayer so that we may close our work for the evening. And again, thank you for everyone who was able to join us tonight, and thank you again, Yonara. So with open hearts of love and gratitude, let us remember these important and kind and compassionate words that we heard. They are so important today as they have ever been, because we are more unified and connected than we have ever been on this planet. Despite how it may feel, we are more connected. Our thoughts are very powerful. Our emotions are very powerful. And if you do not embrace the feeling of compassion in your life and love, the number one person you will hurt is yourself. Remember that we are all going through this journey together. Everyone will face different and similar challenges. And your situation, as painful as it may be, it is not so unique, because there are so many people who feel the same way. And having that feeling and those thoughts of compassion to help those around you will help so much and help lift people up from the things that they may be going through. It may help them move forward. It may help them go over a difficult situation in their life. And that small support and feeling of compassion that you gave, as little as it was on your end, could make a world of difference in someone else's life. So as we end the work tonight, as we move forward and we continue the week and the rest of the year, let us remember these words. Let us remember to be more loving, more compassionate. Remember to control your thoughts, to ask questions and understand where they're coming from, understand your emotions, understand yourself better so that you may be better and help those around you. So with that, we give thanks, we give gratitude for this opportunity and this life, and we end the work of tonight. And again, so be it. Thank you. Good night.